I want to talk about culture. I want to talk about kingdom culture and how that we're culture builders and that we have to build a kingdom culture in our churches throughout this country. And there is an assault on the church, on God, on everything that is near and dear to the heart of the Father, and literally a culture of death, a culture of hate, a culture of darkness that we have to be in these last days, a counterculture, a culture of God's kind of love, a culture of life, and a culture of light. And God is doing a fantastic thing throughout the country. I'm truly encouraged and inspired. I was literally asked to do a culture conference last week. And I was shocked anybody came, and not only did people come, they were wanting me to speak into the issues of the culture. They weren't disengaged, they were wanting to properly engage. And not only was it an awesome conference, there were 5 different churches that asked us to literally pack up the conference and bring it to their churches. Now, I can't do that, but it still inspires me that churches are waking up. People are waking up. The Great Awakening has begun. God told me it began, but it's nice. It's nice to start to see it with my eyes, at least in some select pockets, that people want to know the truth. They want to understand what's happening and why everything is collapsing, and how do we reverse this? How do we not only save ourselves from this crooked and perverse generation, how do we save our families? How do we save our country? Because we're on a path of total death and destruction. You can't go $31 trillion with no stop or no stop gap in sight and survive. Nothing like this has ever happened on the planet, saints, and yet there are people bent to destroy our children and their destiny, destroy our family and God's legacy for our families, destroy our country, destroy our businesses. It is a serious time, and we need to be awakened. And we have to be the refuge for people in the culture of hate and death and darkness to find refuge. And so we need to develop a kingdom culture. And culture was a mystery to me for years. And culture is just something that is, and you'll either have culture by design or by default. Every church has a culture. Every family has a culture. There's white culture. There's black culture. There's hip-hop culture. There's country, thank you, Jesus culture. There's culture everywhere. And churches have a culture. And what we have to do in these last of the last days is develop a kingdom culture, not a white culture, not a black culture, not a rich man's culture or a poor man's culture, but a kingdom culture. And there are things that build healthy culture. And I didn't know that for years. And I can visit a church and I can tell you the culture within 15 or 20 minutes of that church. I mean, some churches I would visit, and I mean, you feel like you have to go through a hazing before you get welcomed. That how many hoops do I have to jump through before proven innocent? Because you're proven guilty the minute you walk in the door, and you're looked at funny and you're treated with a stiff arm. That's a culture. Friendliness is a culture. Loving people is a culture. Forgiveness and reconciliation is a culture. There's an entire woke movement that is bent on dividing us all up, offending every group, and causing chaos to bring destruction to everything that's near and dear, again, to the heart of God. And we can't be a party to that kind of stuff. There's a culture in a healthy church of reconciliation. You need to develop a culture where it doesn't matter what color you are, you're welcomed. It doesn't matter what your financial status is, you're welcomed. Doesn't matter what your past is, you're welcomed. Doesn't matter if you're messed up. Look to the right and look to the left. Welcome to messed up. And while we don't condone messed up, we're not condemning anybody for messed up. We're here to help you get fixed up in Jesus' name. And so what is culture? And how do we develop and build the kind of culture that's pleasing to God and going to be beneficial on the horizon as people engage in the Great Awakening? Culture, again, is by design. And if you don't design it, if you don't purposely intend to develop a culture that's a healthy culture, you'll have a negative culture by default. Culture is a way of life, beliefs, values, and symbols associated with a group. Every culture group has this definition. They have a way of life, they have a belief system, they have values or the lack thereof, they have their symbols, and it is associated with the entire group. That's called culture. Culture involves group think and behavior. Culture is not necessarily what we believe, but how we behave. How do we treat one another? How do we behave in the midst of all the challenges that we face? It's called culture. Let me quickly read these scriptures. I'm not going to turn to a lot because my opening scripture is so long that I've got some things I want to share that will be new to many of you that you need to process, and hopefully you can by the time I get back in our next session. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5. For this you know. Now this is interesting. I wonder if we really know this. This you know, that no fornicator, unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. We live in a culture that is absolutely deceived, and much of our church culture operates in total deception because of the power of deception that's in the culture today. People are deceived. They think they can just live their own lives their own way, that there's no consequences. God is a loving, caring God. That's the God I know. That's the God I preach. But that loving, caring God has warned us He's coming back and that He will execute judgment on the earth and wrath on all those that are disobedient to the gospel. And yet we're ignoring, even in our churches, the reality of judgment, the reality of a devil's hell that we need to avoid at all cost, and the reality of not only heaven, but a new heaven and a new earth to come that the believing and obedient are going to rule and reign in. He says, let nobody deceive you concerning these things, because the wrath of God will eventually come upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partakers with them. While we love people, while we're good to everybody, the scriptures are clear in many other passages to come out from among them. Don't partake of the things that this culture is partaking of. We have gone in just a few short years from tolerate things that God doesn't teach we should tolerate, to celebrate, to elevate, to now you're not cool if you don't embrace these things even in churches. And we can't be a partaker of that. We got to love people. We got to be there for them. We can't be judgmental. We can't be self-righteous, any of those things. But we have to be clear that we are not going to be partakers of what the world calls good, because God calls it evil. And we have to understand and have discernment. The thing that frustrates me, I've tried to figure out, why do I get frustrated? Because sometimes I get frustrated. Now, I know you never get frustrated. You're just all pure as a wind-driven snow. I got issues at times, and I get frustrated, and I have to stop and process. Why am I frustrated? It's like when offense knocks on my door, I have to stop and go, why does that even offend me in the first place? And so why am I frustrated? My frustration isn't with sin. My frustration isn't with sinners. We've all been in sin. I lived in sin. I know what it's like to live in sin and the death of it and the pain of it. I was a sinner. You were a sinner. It's not sin that frustrates me. It's the lack of discernment in the church between good and evil. That we have pastors preaching things and condoning things that God condemns. And we can't be a partaker of that. We can't be a party to that. We need discernment. The days are so evil. My heart breaks for our young people. If we don't develop a culture of truth, a culture of light, a culture of love, our young people aren't going to have a prayer. Before the Antichrist is revealed, Paul said to the church at Thessalonica that God Himself, before the revelation of the Antichrist, not the spirit of Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist is here right now, but there's a day coming that the man of perdition, the Antichrist, will be revealed. It says that God Himself will eventually give people over to strong delusions. That they will resist God. They will hate God so much. They will rebel against God so much that God Himself gives them over to strong delusions. And I'm thinking, what stronger delusions can people be given over to? Because we've got a generation that doesn't know what a woman is. That doesn't know there's two genders. That doesn't know what a marriage is. That doesn't know what real hate is. That doesn't know what racism is. My whole life, culturally, was brought up. Those of you that are my age, and especially older, the greatest thing in the culture that had to be dealt with in the 60s was racism, was segregation. We've got people at the highest levels of power in political office that are truly racist and segregationist. And they're voted for. They're celebrated. We've got some of our schools teaching racism in critical race theory. That they're teaching young black kids that they are victims of white supremacy and that they can't make it. They can't succeed. The deck is stacked against you. It's impossible. And any black person that succeeds is attacked instantly because of the narrative of all black people are to be victims, enslaved by these political powers and led to the slaughter like sheep. And we're teaching that to young children. We're teaching young white people that they are racist even if they don't know it. This is racism. We've got colleges now. One in Oklahoma. I won't name it. I'm not going to name it. One in Oklahoma. I forget the other state, where at graduation, they're segregating the graduation ceremony with black people having a service for graduation and white people. That used to be, and everybody would go, that is segregation, it's evil, it's racism, and yet it is those that are screaming racism the loudest that are segregating us now, saying it's good. Black people and white people don't need to be together. Our churches are still segregated and things being taught that are dividing us. My dad was not a godly man. He was a good man. He came to the Lord. I led him to the Lord. We had awesome fellowship and relationship before he died. But even my dad not serving the Lord taught me that racism is taught. Racism is not the color of your skin and a matter of skin. It is a matter of sin. And anybody of any color of skin can be a racist. And yet we are exalting racism, teaching racism in our schools. That's how deceived we are. That's what this woke movement has done, and the spirits behind it, to the minds of an entire generation. We're going backwards as fast as we can into pure evil, into pure evil. And the church is being sucked into this vortex of darkness. And we've got to go, wait a minute, we're not going to segregate. We are not going to judge people on the basis of the color of their skin. We're not going to prejudge people by appearance. Jesus said, make no judgment by appearance. And yet the highest offices in the land judge everybody by appearance. If you're black, you're put and judged in a certain category. If you're white, you're judged and put in a certain category. If you're a male, you're judged and put in a certain category. A female, on and on we could go with this foolishness that's evil. And the church needs to wake up. we need to realize, wait a minute, we're of another kingdom. And that in the kingdom of God, our culture is we love each other. I don't care. We don't care what color your skin is. We don't care if you're male or female. We don't care if you're Jew or Gentile. We don't care if you're rich or poor. We love you. We are the house of equity. These people are screaming equity all over this country and on these college campuses, and they can't even define it. They think equal and equity are the same, and they're not. We are not equal as male and female, but there's equity with God. There's justice with God. We are equally loved. We are equally blessed. We have an equal inheritance. We equally have the same name, the same armor, the same spirit, but we're different. Men are different from women. I heard a thank God. We'll go this way. I'm with you, brother. Give me 5. Hallelujah. High five. Thank God. And yet the deception is incredible. It's alarming. It's literally alarming that we can't discern good and evil anymore. And the church has been weakened by this. And anyone who comes along and tries to clarify things gets assaulted, accosted, even by the church. He goes on to say, after he says, do not be partakers with them. For you were once darkness. We were once children of darkness. This is why we're kind to people still that are in darkness. We love people that are in darkness because we used to be a resident of darkness. Aren't you glad God has delivered you from the powers of darkness and translated you into the kingdom of His dear Son? He says, for we were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. Live in a way that expresses life. Have a culture of light that expresses the new life that we have in Jesus. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, finding out what is acceptable to the Lord. Saints, we're supposed to be gathering, assembling together, and finding out what is right and acceptable with the Lord. Why am I attacked when I want to know what's acceptable with the Lord, and then when I share what God says is unacceptable? We should all want to know what's acceptable with the Lord. How does the Lord want us to live our lives? How do we not be a partaker of all this darkness and death? Because we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We fall short. So what kind of culture do we need to develop? A culture of forgiveness, a culture of restoration, a culture of reconciliation, a culture of God's kind of love. And now, I didn't write the Bible. I didn't write these words. What are we not hearing in the hour that we're facing? And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. We're supposed to come out from among them and be ye separate, says the Lord, and I'll be your God, and you'll be my people. We're not supposed to have any fellowship with this foolishness that's destroying the minds of a generation, destroying people's identities. Those of you that know me know I died 3 years ago, and I'm still processing all God said to me. It's just, I can't communicate it still. And the fact that I chose to come back, I have second-guessed that decision a couple of times. Heaven is so awesome, and we're such a mess. I never dreamed. God said I wasn't done, so I came back. Okay, I'm going to get her done. But I never dreamed I would have to stand up and talk to the church. You, the saints, the sanctified ones, the ones that are set apart for God's glory and for His kingdom, and tell you, do not allow anybody to give your children sex-oppressing hormone drugs. Don't chemically castrate your children. I never thought I would ever have to say that. Don't allow The school to take your kids away from you, and school boards take your kids away from you and confuse them in their identity and promote surgery, castration, mutilation of their body. I never dreamed those words would have to come out of my mouth in a holy, sanctified setting. And yet we got Christians. When I stand up for two genders and tell you that's a part of natural law, the creation, I'm getting ahead of myself. I got to get out of this introduction. We've got to grow up in these last days, and we got to wake up to what's happening to our kids and what the goal of these politicians are. They hate this country, most of them, and they're trying to destroy it and recreate it in their image. And it will be an image of death, not freedom. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. I just don't believe you should have said the things you said, Pastor. I think your original image of never seeing yourself having to stand up and say those things is a godly image, and you shouldn't have said them. We're supposed to expose these unfruitful works of darkness. It's like we don't even care about our kids anymore. We don't care about our homes anymore. We don't care about our businesses anymore. And the freedom to make a living, the freedom to work. I can't believe how many people got angry at me in the church when I was defending work, and that nobody can tell you you can't work. Nobody can tell you go home, stay home, lock yourself down, and you can't buy or sell unless you take a jab in your arm. That's evil. God commanded you to work. See, we don't understand God's commandments and man's foolishness. I'm going to clear some of that up here in a minute, if I can get through this. Rather expose them, for it is, look at this, for it is shameful even to speak of those things which are done by them in secret. But all things that are exposed are made manifest by the light. For whatever makes manifest is light. Therefore, he says, awake you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. He's not talking about lost people. He's not writing this to the world. He's talking to us. He's saying, look, you've got to wake up. You've got to come out of your drunken stupor of darkness. You got to quit sipping the philosophies of the world that are poisoning you, and wake up and arise from all this death, and Christ will give you light. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing lost people. I don't want to give details. Don't do it, Duane. I don't want to give details. But I used to travel just constantly, and I couldn't sleep after meetings, and so I'd just be channel surfing in the hotel, which isn't always healthy either, trying to find something, and I would come across this guy named Bill Maher. And I had never heard anybody that anti-God before. I had never heard anybody, every single word is the opposite of everything I know to be true. I mean, this guy was truly an atheist and hated Christians, and you could tell, and it was like, it fascinated me. I could only listen for about 5 minutes, but it didn't take long to go and to know that this guy is of darkness and celebrates darkness, and he hates the light. And I never thought I would be standing here saying, even Bill Maher is waking up to this wokeness. He's waking up to the evil of it. He's waking up to the path where, when Bill Maher agrees with me, Jesus is coming soon. Soon. And he used to bring people like me on. I have a good friend that used to go on there. I don't want to name him, but he's becoming a very good friend, and he's an apologist. Apologetics is what he teaches. He goes on to college campuses. He's been on hundreds of college campuses and debates the college kids on the Word of God and the truth. And he's an amazing man, and he's been on Bill Maher. And I'm enjoying hearing his stories. I'm simply telling you, something's happening. Even lost people are going, wait a minute. What are you trying to do to my kids? What do you mean we're going to go to the library and a drag queen is going to dance? And even lost people are going, this is wrong. Well, you just don't love drag queens. No, I love drag queens. I just love our kids too. And if you want to be a pervert, I love you. If you want to be a mess and just choose to wreck your life, I'll love you all the way to the gates of hell, but you're not dragging our kids with you. That's the difference. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm protecting our kids. And yet, sometimes I feel like I'm alone. He goes on to say in verse 15, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. This was written 2,000 years ago. Can you imagine if the Apostle Paul was attending our church as an apostle, what he would be writing today? These things were hard then. And we have fallen into darkness so deep that these words are soft because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. God wants us to know what His will is for our lives, for our families, our church, our communities. Let me give you just some things about the woke movement, because I'm being asked everywhere I go now, well, what is woke? And I don't want to spend a whole hour on it and the next hour on it. I'm just giving you some basic tenets of wokeism. The woke culture is marked by openness except for God and His Word. They have an open mind to everything but God and His Word. The woke movement comes right out of the Garden of Eden, Genesis chapter 3. It has the demons and devil himself behind it that wants to question everything. Hath God said? Did God say? Oh, come on. Did God say there's only two genders? We know, we're the enlightened, there's over 100 now. Did God say marriage is between a man and a woman? Did God really say that? Did God say that adultery's wrong? Hey, adultery can be healthy. We need to be open-minded. And a way to develop and improve your marriage is to wife swap now and get into some clubs. And this is crazy. And yet it's the devil. Hath God said? We need to be the people that say, absolutely God said what He meant what He said. This is what it is. And that's not being mean. They are marked by open-mindedness, except for God and His Word. Everything is okay now. Everything is okay except God's ways. No one sins anymore. No one is a sinner in the woke movement. They're just oppressed. No one's a sinner. No one needs to repent. Everybody's okay. They're not sinners, and that's not sin. They're just oppressed. See, I couldn't believe it when I even got out and started traveling a little more again and finding people that are offended at the truth of a male and a female. I see, this is perfect. A note. There are more than two genders. Right here, a note. This is what's happened to us. This is where we've fallen. We don't even understand why God created us male and female and how destructive it is. How confusing it is to kids to tell them there's over 100 different genders and it's still open. We're still discovering new genders. There are no absolutes. This is the woke movement. You just got to witness it right here at church that there are more than two genders. Not understanding the depth of it. Not understanding the consequences of that. I'll get into that here in a minute, unless you have more notes. Tolerance is exalted for all things except for truth. You're supposed to be tolerant in the woke movement over all things except truth, absolute truth. It is a vehicle for destruction of truth and absolutes. If you study the woke movement, there are no absolutes. Everything is fluid. Everything may be true today and it may be true for you, but it won't be true tomorrow because of everything being fluid. It is a counterfeit to being and the great awakening to God's will. God has a plan for us. God has a will for us. God has created the universe with absolutes. Now, the problem we're having, even in our churches, is people don't understand, and this was ministered in the counterculture or the culture conference, that there's a difference between rules and law. We have gotten mixed up that laws, there are no laws. There is no moral law. There is no law of nature. There are no absolutes. Creation itself is all relative, and truth is relative, and you have a right to believe in two genders, but I have a right to believe in multiple genders. And you have no right to bringing out natural law or God's moral law or how creation is built. Because we are tremendously confused on rules versus law. Rules are fluid. Rules can be changed. Rules can be good for today, but that very rule not be good tomorrow, and the rule needs to change for safety, for development. Like there was a day when in basketball, you could camp out in the oh my goodness, the lane, and stand right there. There was no 3-second rule. Let me give you the definition of rules before I give you these examples. What is a rule? It's a set of regulations and boundaries. Rules, according to the dictionary, they're man-made, they're man-enforced, and they can be changed by man. Rules can be broken, but there are no consequences unless you get caught. Now, I work hard to drive the speed limit. I'm serious. I have a phobia of being pulled over by a policeman, and I don't want to break the law, the rule, the speed limit. And so I work hard at it. But there are times I'm just dreaming, daydreaming, or I'm not paying attention, and I'll go over the speed limit. The good news is I didn't get caught. See, you can break a rule, and if you don't get caught, there's no consequences. Like in basketball again. For years, you could stand in the lane and camp out there, and they throw you the ball, and you kind of try to do a layup or whatever. But back then, everybody was 5'6". And over time, we just got bigger, we got stronger, we got taller, and now you got people that are 8 foot tall. And if you don't have a 3-second rule, if you don't change the rules, the 8-footer's just going to stand there. You throw him the ball, nobody can keep him from getting it, and he just dunk it. And so you get in there 3 seconds. But how many of you know that they break that rule all the time if you watch the NBA, and only until they get caught are there consequences, and it drives you nuts when you're watching the game. He's breaking the rule. Not if he doesn't get caught. We changed the rules in football. It wasn't natural law the way we played football. It wasn't ingrained into the creation. It was a man-made rule. And again, we got stronger, we got faster, the hits got more vicious. And so the rules had to change for safety. When Carter was in office and things were horrible, we didn't have any gas. They changed the rules to 55 miles an hour, even on the interstate highways. And it was for safety and to conserve energy. And so you get my point, rules. But listen at the definition of law. The revelation, out of the dictionary, law, the revelation of the will of God set forth in the Old Testament. Literally in the dictionary, they haven't removed it yet, it says Mosaic law. See, law is given by God and cannot be changed by man. God's law is commandments. Moral law is encoded into all of creation. Natural law is created by God. We can't create it. We can't change it. Gravity is a part of creation. And it's a natural law. It's consistent. It's non-biased. It's a blessing. But if you violate the law, not the rule of gravity, it's called the law of gravity. It's natural law. God created it within all of creation. And if you violate it, there's consequences whether you get caught or not. Can you see the difference? There's consequences whether you get caught or not. And man can't change moral law and natural law. We have people coming to church, attending churches, that don't know that God created marriage before sin came into the world. Marriage is a part of the construct of creation. It's a part of creation. As sure as He created the animals, He created gravity, He created the atmosphere where you could breathe, He created marriage. It's a creation, and He created male and female, and our identity, and Jesus Himself. This precious girl is going to meet Jesus one day. Hopefully she knows Him. Because it was Jesus Himself in Mark chapter 10 that said, from the creation, God created them male and female. And God put them together in holy matrimony called marriage. And the whole reason we're created male and female is for marriage. And He only created two identities. You can believe a lie if you want to. You can take upon you a false, fraudulent identity. You can be a male and think you're a female, but it's coded in your creation, and you are as much a male by natural law and God's creation as gravity. You can believe a lie and accept and believe you're a female, but you're not. You'll never be. And everything screams out. How can that lady not know biologically the difference between a male and a female? And there's only two biological differences. 2 X chromosomes makes you a female. A Y and an X chromosome makes you a male. There are no other chromosomes that make up another identity. That's a biological fact, not to mention a part of creation. So just like when you violate gravity, there's consequences whether you get caught or not. There's consequences to being deceived into thinking your identity is something you're not. You can believe you're a bird. We got young people believing they're cats. I wish she hadn't left. I'd love to ask her, do you believe a human being can be a cat? I wouldn't doubt. She says, absolutely. If they believe they're a cat, they're a cat. That's sad. That's heartbreaking. Again, you can believe you're a bird, and you can get up in that balcony and you can say, I believe I'm a bird. I can argue with you. I can reason with you. I can describe a bird to you. I can tell you the difference between a Homo sapien and a bird. But if you believe you're a bird, please don't jump. You're not getting it. It doesn't matter what you believe. If you jump, you're going to die. You're going to die. And people are irritated with me, will give you notes publicly. You think I make these stories up? That don't understand when they believe a lie and violate natural law, there's consequences whether you get caught or not. Adultery's wrong. It was wrong before the law, it was wrong under the law, and it's wrong after the law. Under the law, there were curses associated with it. There was a capital punishment was involved. If you committed adultery under the old covenant law, then you could be stoned. And under the New Testament grace, Jesus fulfilled the curse of the law, but he didn't now change natural law and moral law. Adultery is as much wrong today and has consequences whether we get caught or not, because you're violating moral law. Man, to me, this is so simple. You have to have help to miss what I'm saying. And I'm telling you, an entire generation has had help to where even people in the church have believed lies. And you got to witness it. You got to see it, unfortunately. This is interesting. Natural law. When I say natural law, what am I talking about again? Listen to this definition right out of the dictionary. A body of law or specific principle held to be derived from nature. A body of law or specific principle held to be derived from nature and binding upon human society in the absence of or in addition to positive law. Well, what's positive law? Positive law is a law recognized or established by the government. In other words, man's law can't trump God's law. Man can pass a law and say, this is what this is the truth. It doesn't change God's law. It doesn't supersede God's law, and it doesn't change the consequences. We have no idea the consequences that are coming on all these children that are confused in their identity, destroying their entire destiny, destroying not only this life, but could actually affect their eternity. The only time God's law changed is when He said He was going to change it. Look at Matthew chapter 5. Thank you for the great awakening, Lord. I believe I receive in Jesus' name. Matthew chapter 5, look at verse 17. Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. Somebody jumped on me one time and said, you talk about these different type of moral issues and you don't talk about eating shrimp and how that's an abomination. This is how slow we are. It's how far removed we are from the truth. It's how far even the church is backslidden. That we don't understand that that was a type and a shadow. All the dietary laws were types and shadows pointing to something that Jesus came and fulfilled. I didn't change it. I didn't say, well, eating shrimp's okay now. God said that was a type and a shadow of dividing clean and unclean. And now you're not under those dietary laws because God said so, not because the church said so, not because the government said so. God said Jesus fulfilled the type and shadow, and He now is what separates clean from unclean, believing from unbelieving. I'm not under. Why don't we offer up lambs as a sacrifice here tonight? That's the law. That's what God said. You don't talk about that. It's because Jesus fulfilled that. And He is the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world. Jesus didn't destroy the law, moral law of sexual purity. This is simple stuff. And yet people are so confused. We need an awakening. We need God. Well, I just believe. I'm surprised I haven't got another note on this one. I just believe that we all ought to do what we think is right. That there is no absolutes, and we just need to do what's right in our own eyes, as if we're holy people without God. And nobody believes that. They're liars, they're deceivers. How many of you want to take your car to a mechanic and he changed the air filter but charge you for a new transmission because he thought it was right in his own eyes? Even people in the woke movement will wake up when I give them that one. They're like, no, that isn't right. No, see, there are absolute rights. There is moral truth. There are values that are consistent to every generation. Thou shalt not steal was before the law, under the law, and after the law. How many of you want to go to the hospital and they're going to do exploratory surgery on your colon and they take your kidney out because they just thought it was right to give that kidney to somebody else that was in need? See how simple this is to disconstruct if you listen? Nobody believes we want everybody to do what's right in their own eyes. Total chaos would break out. Everything would collapse. People would camp out in front of your house demanding you give them your house because you don't deserve that house. And I think in my own eyes it's right for me to have your house because you're an evil person. Nobody believes and wants us to all do what is right in our own eyes, but how many people promote that and are teaching that kind of stuff to our young people? And how many of us are confused, thinking it's okay that you have your truth, I have my truth? No. We have one truth. His name is Jesus. And the truth is in Jesus. There's no truth outside of Jesus, outside of God's Word, both living and written. And we simply need, man, I'm in the red. Bless my heart. We need to be awakened. We need to be prepared for what's coming, because what you just saw is on steroids out there. That people are bent to destroying themselves. I don't get to come here a lot, so I'm going to take just a couple of more minutes. Sue and I were in the Allen Mall just a few hours before that man came through and killed all those people. I had my 2 grandkids with me. We were in that mall just a few hours before that happened. These people are evil. Everybody's trying to figure out, how did this happen? What was his motive? Did he have a manifesto? He had demons. He was evil. These people are evil, and they're bent on killing themselves. When someone goes into a school and kills children, they know they're not going to get out alive. They're either going to be taken out by suicide cop, they call it cop suicide, suicide by cop, a pedestrian with a firearm, or they're going to kill themselves. So why are they killing everybody else? Listen, because evil is not content with killing and destroying itself. Evil has to destroy everything and everybody. Even the devil, when he got kicked out of heaven, he knows he's headed for the lake of fire. He knows he's already been judged. He's already fallen like lightning. So why doesn't he just go off by himself and self-destruct? No, he wants to take everybody he can to the lake of fire with him. That's the nature of evil. And we have to understand this. I'm not talking about attacking people. I'm not talking about being mean-spirited, even though you'll be accused of it no matter what. I'm talking about speaking the truth in love, and I'm talking about, no, we will submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee. He will flee. You have to understand there's a movement afoot that is self-destructive. They're killing themselves. They're committing suicide, but they don't want to do it by themselves. They want to take your kids down with them. They want to take our families down. They want to take our country down. It's real. It's real. And we need to be awakened. Father, I just thank you that not everybody got up and walked out. Not everybody is unwilling to even search the Scriptures together. Thank you for the great awakening. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you for our churches. Thank you for the churches that are waking up all over the country and saying, wait a minute, something is wrong here. There is evil afoot. And we have to love people, but we've got to resist evil. And so I just thank you. Help me to, in my next session, teach us, how do we build this healthy culture? How do we build? What are the tenets of faith, the pillars that make up a healthy culture in a church? Lord, we are here for this city. We're here to bring people to Christ, not join them on the path to hell. And so I just thank you for blessing us and making us a blessing. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.